Anthony, what do you think of my car over here? Looks suspiciously like
I love it. I love it. And what's interesting is the person in our trailer is actually on our show today.
Oh, that's exciting. Well, I hope you guys read who's on today, because we'll be getting to her in just 1 second. But before we do that, Anthony, listen, we're going to Alice next week. We're going to AHOA the week after. Both have a trade show component. AHOA is going to have a huge trade show component. And I hope that the Dallas Convention Center is smart enough to have reached out to the good folks at Ecotech Waste, because these disposable, recyclable baskets over here, I think, are perfect to have in all of these different trade show booths, right? They're good for the environment. You don't have to worry about cleaning them. You can just toss them in the recycling bin with all of the garbage, and boom, you're ready to go.
Well, right? If they don't, we'll just start dropping them off at everybody's table.
Yeah, I like that idea. Hey, guys, be sure to check them out. Please go to eco-techwaste.com, eco-techwaste.com. Tell them No Vacancy sent you. Please give it a try. This is a great product. They will help you. Plus, you'll be supporting us and all that we do, bringing great news and information every single day. My goodness, Anthony. You know, one of the cool things that we've been talking about over the last couple of years is the rise in apartments. And our guest today actually works in the division of executive apartments. This one here happens to be in Shenzhen, China. And while I haven't visited myself personally, I wish I was. But we do get to have coming to the show right now, Manny Robinegger. Welcome back, Manny. So great to see you.
I'm so happy to be here. I think it was a year ago that I was on the show, and I was maybe furloughed at that time, so not even working. But I am happy to say that I am back. I'm actually calling in from our headquarters, which was kind of exciting. I was like a kid the first day of kindergarten coming in to just get back to seeing what
So you're at Marriott headquarters. That's exciting.
I am.
The first day of kindergarten, what happened? Did you cry when your mom dropped you off and you demanded some juice boxes?
No, I was so excited to see my classmates, right?
So talking about kindergarten, and me and Manny, most people know we're very dear friends. We've known each other for years now through our mutually good friend, and we. So in kindergarten, I want to know, were you the tallest kid in kindergarten? Because, you know, Manny's very tall. Manny's 6'1". So were you the tallest kid in kindergarten, really?
So you remember in school, like I think up until grade school, all the tall people would be in the middle, right? Glenn, I think you're pretty tall too, right? So
no, I'm average height. Tall for a Jewish guy, but average height.
So I was always front and center, back row, me, and I was a good head above everyone else, I guess you could say, yeah.
I was always in the front row, except this one kid, and I have not said his name or thought of his name since, like, the 3rd grade, but believe it or not, his name popped into my head, Perry. Perry was the shortest kid in class, and I was like a half an inch taller, and for some reason, that second place, half an inch, like, boosted my confidence. Like, I wasn't the shortest kid in class. And I was the 4th shortest kid because Margot and Michelle were shorter than me.
The best was, as I was growing up in the company and working on property, I remember once someone came up to me, like another female leader, and she's like, I love when you walk around with the general manager and the director of operations, and they both have to look up to you. And you don't realize sometimes, like, talk about body language, right? Like, that's people's impression. We weren't even saying anything or doing anything, but just the fact that the two guys in the room had to look up to me.
That's right. Well, there's plenty of people in this business that look up to you. You've been in this business a long time with Marriott. You know, being at Marriott headquarters, and Marriott being really when Arnie, rest his soul, when Arnie was alive, one of the last things he did was come out and basically told our community, we're shutting down. And like when he spoke for Marriott, he didn't really speak for Marriott. He spoke for all of us. And it was with a heavy heart that he did it, and against a lot of people's wishes that he did that. And I remember that moment for the rest of my career, rest of my life. So we all look to Arnie. We all look to Marriott. So right now, I know the corporate office, there's probably people there, a lot of people there, but probably still a lot of people furloughed and a lot of people maybe not coming back. So what can we expect in the next 12 months from Marriott, and what does that look like? And also, the second question is, being a general manager right now is probably pretty challenging.
Right.
So I'd like you to talk to both of those things if you can.
And think about, hold on, before you speak to that, being a general manager, I think we need to bring up your curriculum vitae thing that we put up there, because it was an interesting point on here. Sure, you have all that experience. Sure, you're an adjunct professor, but this one I really like. A better GM at the Algonquin than Anthony. I think that really says it all right there.
I'm putting a disclaimer out there. I didn't do it. But you know, that's fun to see. But I think Anthony made the Algonquin what, you know, he was the one that talk about when you're thinking of branding, right? And he went in there and he had a vision for what that property should be like and restoring it to the history of it. And he did all the heavy lifting. I went in and did different type of lifting, I'd say, but he got it to this point that, you know, it was once again one of the properties that everyone has an Algonquin story. Everyone stayed in the Algonquin at some point. It's been in so many movies, and that was really Anthony kind of being the pioneer and, you know, making it happen and standing strong on this is what needs to happen for this to be, you know, one of the known properties again.
Well, that's very sweet. It was an amazing team, but I'll say an inside statement that only Manny knows what I'm talking about. She did most of the important heavy lifting. And listen, taking it from say a 5 to 7.5, 8 is tough. But it's a lot of it's just a lot of direct aggression and direct vision and a lot of teamwork. Bringing it from an 8 to a 9 is the real work. That's the real, you know, the real kind of strategy, and every move you make is really, really important. And that's kind of what Manny and the rest of the general managers really did, and the rest of the teams. So yeah, my team and I came in and we moved big pieces, but Manny did something that I've never been able to do, and everybody was very thankful for a lot of things she did. Well, we'll just leave it there.
We make a good team. We make a good team, obviously, right? So
I remember the first time I met her when I was introduced to her from Alice, my executive assistant at the time, and then Manny's executive assistant, and she introduced us. I was at the round table in the I believe in the lobby, and I remember saying, "Hey, that's cool. She's the general manager," but I just couldn't let my competitiveness like at bay. I was sizing her up, and I was like, all right, she sounds smart. All right, it's Marriott person or whatever. Right. She's going to run the Algonquin. She's 25 years in Marriott. Yeah, she'll screw that up. And then all of a sudden, me and her became best friends, like over a drink.
And I think the one funny part that Anthony never told me, and then we'll stop the love fest.
Right.
You know, Anthony and I don't get to see each other this often, so it's our opportunity to see each other here too.
That's excellent. Well, I wish I only got to see him once a year, so I'm a little jealous of you.
So yeah, you know, when you told me who he was, and I'd heard a little bit about, you know, his history and his reputation, and then obviously the show Hotel Impossible that he did, and I was like, I've never seen it. I've never heard of this show before, so I'd Google it and check it up. And he was kind of taken back that I had no idea who he was, too. I think is what was such a good basis for our friendship, that I had no, you know, pre-expectations or whatever. So it truly grew from
my memory. If my memory serves me, I had no idea that you didn't. I hate to say, you know, that you didn't know my background. I didn't know that, and I know if I did know that, I wouldn't have reacted like, you don't know who I am. So don't tell lies, man.
No. All right, so back to your question.
Let's get us back on track. Back to what's going on.
So your questions. What does the Marriott look like the next 12 months? And general managers, like, what is that? If I'm a general manager in the Marriott, and I would imagine it's really different depending on where you are, but lay the groundwork.
So I'll speak specifically to Marriott Hotel, since that's the one that I'm the brand leader of. And, you know, it's been interesting. Now is really the opportunity, and I know you have a lot of different owner representatives on this podcast typically too. If they had a lot of capital or they had the funds, this is the time that many different companies are picking up distressed properties. So then that's also what's been great in many ways for Marriott hotels, because it's such a recognizable name. And, going through the pandemic, it's all about, I want to trust and feel not safe and secure as far as, my overall safety, but just that I'm going to be in a safe environment. I know that there's a consistency of trusted expectations when you're at a Marriott hotel then too. So what's been interesting is as many Marriott hotels that we have in North America, we've had an opportunity to have discussions on the development side, because there's an appetite again for this brand in certain markets that we all already thought might have been saturated or something, because specifically of flying that flag then too. And then some of our owners, we're trying to partner with them as much as possible, knowing that, they've really had a difficult time just making their mortgage, right, from month to month then too. So as a company, Marriott International, we've really looked at, kind of the renovation cycles and everything else too. So we've allowed some flexibility in that, but, it's also now time to start keeping people accountable to guest satisfaction scores.
That's about balance, right? Because I remember coming out of the Great Recession, everybody was very friendly with the terms and stuff. But if you are too friendly, obviously it could hurt the overall quality of the company.
Right. The company, as well as, if there's any type of detractor in a Marriott hotel, you might go to a newly renovated or a new build, and this is what the Marriott hotel brand is all about. But then if you go into another property that, is perhaps a cycle behind, which means they may not have had a renovation in 14 years. And we've all been in properties like
I've seen that furniture.
Yeah, exactly. So then that's where it's kind of like, ooh, it confuses the customer, right?
Yeah, and it's interesting because people are traveling now. So a lot of my friends have been traveling. And I'll tell you something, they are not giving hotels that much of a break. They're like, cleaning services, I didn't get my room cleaned till 5 o'clock. The rooms look a little bit older. And I was like, do you understand? We just came through a pandemic and we have like one housekeeper cleaning every hotel room in the world. She flies all over the world and she cleans rooms because there's like one housekeeper working. It's like they give zero, about what the last year has been like.
Well, and think about it. I mean, especially in Florida too, there's been such demand and occupancy is so high. It's crazy prices too. So I do get from the customer's perspective, right? They're spending a lot of money to stay in a hotel, right? There's all this demand, but then they get there and the M Club isn't open, or the food and beverage offerings are limited, or they're not getting their room serviced to their expectation, or there's no valet parking or even a bellman, right? Like you go to a full service property, you expect the bellman experience or guest service experience. And, for Marriott hotels, we were great properties for the business traveler. They weren't driving, they were in and out, and now we've had to really pivot to this leisure traveler. And, that's like moving a big cruise ship, right? It's moving very slowly. So to your question, Anthony, part 2 of being a general manager right now, like they've had to kind of just completely change gears and try to create more of a leisure programming and experience then too at all of our Marriott hotels, which isn't the easiest to do. And then add on top of it the staffing issue. And, I think I looked last week at just hours per occupied room from 2019 versus 2021. And most properties were down 30 to 55%. And that's, per occupied room. So it is an apple to apple comparison. So I actually was just staying with friends in DC, and he's a hotel manager at a Renaissance and a Residence Inn, and she's the director of event management at a Marriott hotel. She was taking orders in the restaurant and was basically back to her server days. He just finished clearing 7 floors of trash. So, they're doing everything and stretched out and exhausted. And, but, I guess at the end of the day, why so many people do it is they have this incredible passion for this business too. And, it was amazing when I was talking to my friend, he's like, it's not forever. It's what we have to do for right now. And he's all in, and his energy and enthusiasm reminded me of like, you're right. Like, this is why people are in this industry. We're all a little bit crazy, I guess.
That's right.
But it's
a friend of mine once said, when my daughter was thinking about theater, he said, if she can't do anything else, then she should do theater. But if she can do something else, she should. I feel the same way about the hotel business.
right.
If you can do something else, you should. But if you can't, then this is the place for you.
And I think you've mentioned it even on some of your shows before, Anthony, right? Like, don't hire because it's someone has the experience. Hire on the passion, and you will likely get some of your best employees from totally unrelated businesses. And I know we've had a lot of exodus, like when you look at universities and the hospitality school. Right. I think Dr. Ritchie has been on your podcast before too, and he's talked about incoming students are down 40%. So that, fast forward to 4 years, we're going to have a much lesser output then too.
And it's important to say, not just FAU, at hospitality schools globally, we're seeing this phenomenon.
Right.
Yeah, and it's so important, like this podcast, the other things we're doing, other things the brands are doing, the other things I'm doing and Glenn's doing. It is so critical to keep the face of hospitality out there. And it's people just don't see it as a vibrant career. And I was saying to you yesterday when we were just talking haphazardly, and I said, I wish I would have known that when I got into this business, to just prove to myself that I'm not a loser. So I went out of the Air Force and it's like, I have some confidence. I think I have some talents. I'm just going to work. And so my entire career up until this day is just trying to have a career. And I never realized that when I say career, I mean just a job. And I never realized that what you've done you've really had a career. You stayed with one company, and through this company's growth, you've been able to really have a measured, really beautiful career. And you're in a position right now where you're a brand leader of a Marriott brand. It's amazing, but I never looked at it that way. I looked at it as I just don't want to get fired and I want to pay my rent. And it's just amazing that I wish I would have known 30 years ago, if I stayed with one company, I could have become president of the company, or I could have been a vice president of the company. So we really need to get that word out there to the kids in college.
Right. And my public service announcement is it's a great time to be in this industry, or to be in university studying this specifically, because even this role, I had no idea this role existed when I graduated many, many years ago.
But nobody has a general sense that there are corporate jobs and all that. For some reason, people even working at hotels only think there are only jobs working in hotels, not beyond that in our industry.
I'm a good example of a crossover, right? So I have the operational experience, and I always knew out of college, like, I want to be a general manager one day. And then I was a 3-time general manager, and I was like, I'm not ready to retire. What's next?
Right.
So that's when this opportunity presented itself. And I think when I got here, I maybe knew 20% of what this job was all about. I think I reread the job description 4 times over, and not sure it even makes sense now. But now that I've been in the role about a year and a half, I get it. It's clicking, and I understand what I'm supposed to be doing.
Right.
This existed way back when. But for many of the students now, there's going to be tremendous opportunity. Like, fast forward to, even now, there's so many positions that are open, and we know many places are struggling. You can go in and just be a rock star for maybe a position you never even thought about then too. So in many ways, I think this is a very exciting time for people to be getting back into the industry. It's going to be hard work the next 12 to 18 months, definitely. But talk about being able to just really create a name for yourself, so to say, and develop kind of a career path from there. This is good timing for that.
Yeah, we talked about this yesterday. I'm sorry, Glenn, did you want to say something?
I was going to add something specifically to this, and that's why the American Hotel and Lodging Association and their foundation has announced a new advertising campaign that's going to run on digital platforms, radio, and print to help get people to be interested in jobs in the hospitality industry and hope to get them in. So according to the HLA, there's over 200 different career paths with transferable skills, allowing workers to move across positions in the global hotel industry. So folks go to hotelsarehiring.com, can learn how to get into our business. Anthony?
Yeah, and one of the most important things is, we were talking about this yesterday, Manny and I, is when you come into this industry, this is a rocket ship right now. If you just put your head down, kind of focus and work your butt off, you will get propelled like you've never seen before in a career, because there is so much, there are so many opportunities, and it is so important to just don't complain. When I first got in this business, I didn't complain. I was like, yep, no problem. You want me to work 18 hours a day, 7 days a week? Yes, 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 yes. And I got promoted quickly, and I started raising up the ranks really, really quickly because I shut up. And then at some point, I landed, and then I can speak. Then I can, stand up for my team. Then I can kind of challenge authority. But in the beginning, I just shut up, and I just did my job and worked hard. And right now, if you get in this industry and you just work really hard, you will be catapulted. And also, talking about diversity, it's never been a better time. If you're coming from a diverse background, I mean, C-suites right now, there's a lot of seats that need to be filled and need to be diverse seats. And so this is, like I said, I can run out of breath talking about what a great opportunity it is right now. People think, oh, you love the business. So no, you got to be out of your mind if you don't go in this business now, if you're thinking about the hospitality business. I truly believe that.
And I know you've made reference before that you can't believe I've stayed with one company for so long. But what's so great about Marriott International in general is I felt like I've left the company a few different times. Like when I went to the Algonquin, and that was one of our Autograph brand properties, and I really kind of got to create a brand of one. All my different roles, I've worked for 5 different brands. I've now spending time in headquarters. I've worked in sales and marketing, revenue management, food and beverage, rooms, and each one of those has felt very different. And geographically, it's been different. They've been a resort. They've been the New York Marriott Marquis in Times Square. It's been a suburban hotel. So each time you kind of feel like you've left the company, but you've had that security umbrella of working for the same company.
And didn't you do work in China?
Pardon me? Say that again?
Didn't you do work in China?
So I was lucky enough. So the Edition Hotel does an amazing job. Ritz-Carlton's do too, a 10-day countdown prior to an opening. So I got to fly to China and worked, to your point, Anthony, I think there were 14, 16-hour days. It's a 10-day countdown, and be part of that process of the Sanya Edition in China. Wow. I don't know, that was 4 or 5 years ago, I guess now. And it was hard work. My most comfortable shoes after day 2 were no longer even comfortable. That's how much walking we were doing at a resort. But it was an amazing experience. And yeah, it's funny, there were 3 of us that flew over together. One of my best friends, you've met him too, Frank Mioli. He and I sat side by side on that 24-hour flight, and we are fast friends since then, and working together for 10 days straight. So it creates. And
there was absolutely no alcohol involved in that 24-hour flight.
No, there wasn't. Well, there legitimately was not. Number one, because Frank's way too healthy for that. Number 2, when you're on a plane that long, you can't drink. That's not good.
Well, the good news is you could drink and get over your hangover before you even.
No, but that's it's like the military, right? You never know where you're going to be sent. And now, like in the military, everybody that wants to be promoted even higher, you got to go to the Pentagon. Like you can be in the field, you can be in a war zone, but you got to get to the Pentagon if you want to get promoted even higher. So you're basically in the Pentagon of hotels.
And it's funny. My boss that brought me in, I had worked with him 25 years ago. We were revenue managers together. Julius Robinson. I think you actually had him on the show.
Yes, we did. Yes, we did.
And even though I really didn't know exactly what my job was in the first 6 months, I think whenever we were both here at headquarters, I'd say my goodnights and thank him for having the belief in me that I could have this job, and I thanked him for my job because. How amazing is that, 30 years in your career, that I was excited every single day to come to work. And I still am, even though it's challenging right now. What a great time or opportunity, even in my role, to kind of be part of what the future looks like for.
In every career there's ups and downs and there's good days and bad days. But the one thing that resonates with me, that you've always been so respectful of your brand. Like even in personal conversations where we're just having dinner and we're just, being friends and we're not even thinking about the hotel business. Anytime it came back to your job and the people the company you work for, you've always been incredibly respectful. And I'll never forget that, because that really says a lot about your company. It says a lot about you and your ability to adapt. Because listen, when you're in a company that's gone from where Marriott was 30 years ago to now, I mean, there's a lot of ups and downs. The whole Starwood merger, there's a lot of going on, and that you always respected that challenge is really really impressive. Because a lot of people just complain.
Well, I think it comes to, you know, this company has been very good to me. And certainly now in my role, I'm very honored and flattered to be the brand leader for Marriott Hotels. Because when you think of, you know, Bill Marriott and really what he's done with Marriott International, this is, I say it's an awesome responsibility, but it's an awesome responsibility, right? To be the brand leader for Marriott Hotels. But for myself, I want to make an impact on this brand and just continue already the great momentum it's had into the future then.
Yeah. And the great thing about your title, the people that don't know think you won all of Marriott. Because Marriott brands is like, oh, you won everything? You won all their brands? Yep, that's me. No. You won the specific Marriott full-service brands, correct?
Yes, yes.
Yes. It's so amazing to be able to say that you're leading such an iconic brand, but you're thinking about that future, as you've mentioned. So as you're developing a plan for a future, how do you continue to differentiate as everybody else seems to pile on and then create more sameness?
Right. And that's, you know, that's the biggest part of all of our roles as brand leaders. So Tina Edmondson, who's our global brand officer, you know, she calls them swim lanes, which really helps clearly, you know, you can almost picture it, right? So my swim lane's a bigger swim lane maybe than an Element Hotel or a Tribute, because they're still growing their portfolios. And then, you know, why do people stay at a Marriott hotel versus some of those properties, and staying true to that? So when I mentioned the renovations and some of the new builds and how we've got this amazing product out there, and there's certain aspects of a Marriott hotel, like our M Club experience, that our business and leisure travelers have come to expect. That is a reason why someone will pick a Marriott hotel versus some of our other brands in the portfolio then too. And, you know, sometimes it's those conversations you have to have, because you're convincing an owner why they need to put monies into this to help continue to differentiate a Marriott from a Sheraton or a Tribute or Hilton then too. Hilton can be sometimes a little bit more difficult because that's a little closer to what Marriott Hotels represents, and just staying true to the brand, and making sure the other piece is making sure you don't overlap too. So when you think of our JW Marriott, which is Mr. Marriott Senior's, you know, kind of his brand then too, and that's in our luxury division, we definitely have to make sure we keep it separate, because to Anthony, your point, right? Like, it can be very confusing to the customer. Marriott International, Marriott Bonvoy, Marriott Hotels, JW Marriott, and then we've got Courtyard by Marriott, Residence Inn by Marriott, you know. So in many ways I benefit, I think, to your point that you said, that Marriott is in my name, but then, you know, that where it gets tougher in my job, or what our responsibility is for this brand specifically, is to kind of keep it separated and delineated, and continue to help create a differentiator and a preference for our customers to stay at a Marriott hotel versus even some of the brands within our portfolio.
Well, we had the chance, Anthony and I got a tour of the reinvented Marriott Marquis in New York City, saw that new M Club before it opened. Wow, is that huge and gorgeous, and really creates that sense that I, as a Marriott loyal customer, am special, and I'm being treated as such. I think that's a great hook for you.
And especially being in Times Square, and like, I felt when I was in that space, I was just like, everything was quiet. Everything was just so different and separated from everything. It was, and it really is something that reinforces, because everybody comes to New York. I mean, if you're a Marriott member, you come to New York at one time, you know, during the year, and going into that lounge just kind of doubles down on why you're a Marriott, you know, member.
Right. And that was a big decision, right? Like, that's the other piece. Like, we all remember properties that have the concierge lounge kind of hidden up on a guest room floor. So this was a big change for Marriott Hotels to say, hey, you know, we want you to take your keys back up on the floors. Let's bring this down, that it is a more exclusive area, right? Like, ooh, what's that behind those doors? I want to be part of that, right?
Right.
Oh,
so it's hidden, but it's right out front, as opposed to before where nobody even had a knowledge that it existed. Fascinating.
And what we're hearing is, guests then will take advantage of the M Club, but then you get tastings from the restaurant. So they're like, oh, you know what? I'm not going to leave property. I'm just going to go have a drink at the bar and eat dinner here versus, heading down the street or something too.
Good point.
Yep.
Yeah. Anthony, I know it's 12:30 and we got to keep it short today. Any final questions for Ms. Rabenecker there?
Yeah, what is your favorite part of being on Anthony and Glenn's show? Is it Glenn or is it Anthony?
Oh,
Glenn.
that's a tough one.
I love
being on this show.
Yeah, it's I just admire you. Outside of just being your friend, I really admire you that for 30 years you've just been in it and just still have such a vibrance and such a you love this business. Like even again ups and downs, and I've been there when you've had challenges, and you've always just been a love of this business. So thank you.
Wow. Well, thanks for always listening, because I know a lot of times you're my person I call, Anthony. So I appreciate that. And Glenn, thanks. You're like my own PR company on this show, so I love that.
Hey, you're in the intro, man. That's a big deal.
Yeah, and when you guys get back to having annual events, have Anthony and I speak at them. We'd love.
Trust me,
Wait,
I know.
I reminded her yesterday. I said, guess the only brand that I have not been a keynote speaker at.
Pressure's on.
I know. Mandy, thank you so much for being here. We really appreciate you returning.
Thanks for the invite. I'm honored to have been on the podcast. Thanks.
Love you, my friend.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Oh, man. Sorry, everybody. We're doing a quick. Anthony's got a meeting he has to get to. And I've got to go. I think I got to get a haircut for this Alice event next week.
You look beautiful to me, Glenn.
Aw, and you look beautiful to me. And you out there, you look beautiful to us. So remember, we'll be back tomorrow with another great show. And, of course, if you want to watch us, that's great. But you probably want to listen to us. I know I love listening to podcasts when I'm exercising and that sort of thing. You can do the same thing. Listen on Apple Podcasts. Listen on iHeartRadio. Listen on Stitcher. Listen wherever you darn well please. If you want to speak to Anthony, he's at Anthony Hotels. And I, of course, am at Traveling Glenn. So, Anthony, I got myself a new pair of waterproof headphone MP3 player. It's great because I could listen to our show while swimming some laps in the pool.
I love it. I love it. That's great. Wow. And you know what? I'm going to do this here since you brought up exercise. I'm going to put a challenge. We know that I have a challenge with my friend Sarah from Mass Concierge. I've done a 17-minute plank. That's the mark for her to hit. So anyone that can outplank 17 minutes, just put it on video, have somebody witness that you did it. I'll believe you. And then I will try to beat your personal record. So mine's 17 minutes, so 17 minutes, 3 seconds. So if you did 17 minutes and 4 seconds, I will have my witness, and I will try to beat your 17 minutes and 4 seconds.
Oh.
There you go.
All right. I am all on board to challenge you for the 4 seconds part. I'm going to leave the 17 minutes for somebody else.
All right, brother.
All right, everybody. We'll see you tomorrow. And remember, everybody, make the best of your life because you've only got one life, so blaze on and
be kind to yourself.
See y'all tomorrow. Oh, I got to put this back on.
Don't talk over that. Please don't talk over the thing.